Good afternoon. My name is Matthew Morgan and I'm Council's Chief Executive Officer. I extend a warm welcome to the gallery here at the Cobram Civic Centre and those joining us via live stream for this afternoon's scheduled meeting of Council. Consistent with section 13.3 of our governance rules, Council officers have been authorised to record the public session of this meeting using appropriate recording devices. I now turn to the Chair for the prayer and the acknowledgement of country. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Could I please ask those that are in attendance today to please rise whilst I read the prayer and acknowledgement of traditional owners. Almighty God, we humbly ask you to guide our deliberations for the welfare and benefit of the Moira Shire and its people whom we serve. Moira Shire Council acknowledges the Yorta Yorta Nation as the traditional owners of this land. We recognise their deep spiritual connection to land, waterways and community of the 8 clan groups making up the Yorta Yorta Nation. And we pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Please be seated. So a very warm welcome to everyone who has joined our scheduled council meeting here, the Moira Shire Council, in the Civic Centre at Cobram. We do extend a very warm welcome to those members of the gallery who have joined our meeting tonight, and particularly to acknowledge that we have members of the Moira Youth Council joining us tonight and will be observing tonight's proceedings as well. So a very warm welcome to you as members of our Youth Council. Also a very warm welcome to those members who might be joining us, those members of the community who might be joining us via our streaming service. We do welcome you as well. Item 4 on tonight's agenda is apologies. Mr. CEO, I don't believe we have any apologies for tonight's meeting.
No apologies.
And are there any requests for leave of absence?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Item 5 is disclosure of conflicts of interest. Are there any matters of conflict of interest to be declared on matters on tonight's agenda?
Chair, I'll declare a conflict in item 8.8, which is the CEO Employment Remuneration Committee minutes, and I'll leave the chamber.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Are there any other conflicts of interest to be declared tonight? If not, I will take it there are no further conflicts to be declared. Item 6 is the confirmation of minutes of our previous meeting held on 25th of February 2026. Is there a motion for this item?
Certainly, Chair. I'd like to move that the minutes of the scheduled meeting held on Wednesday, the 25th of February 2026, as presented, be adopted.
And I'm happy to second that motion. Do you wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 7 on tonight's agenda is Administrator Addresses, and the first part of tonight's address from our administrators, our panel of administrators, is to recognise that we have 2 members of the Moira community who are recent recipients of the Order of Australia Medal. And we're very pleased tonight to welcome Mr. Arthur German, OAM. Arthur is one of our 2 recipients and is with us tonight. And Arthur, we would ask you to come forward and we would like to present a certificate of acknowledgement in recognition not only of your recent OAM certificate. Arthur, we might get you to come this way, but also in recognition of the substantial contribution you have made to the Moira community and particularly the community of Cobram. So I will move to a different microphone to present our certificate of acknowledgement to Mr. Arthur German. So just to provide some background to the contribution and the reason for which Arthur has been acknowledged with a very significant Order of Australia recognition. Arthur German, OAM, has been recognised for his long-standing and dedicated service to the Cobram community. Through his sustained commitment to local initiatives and community wellbeing, Mr. German has made a significant contribution to strengthening community connections and supporting the social fabric of this region. His efforts reflect a deep sense of civic responsibility and an enduring passion for the betterment of Cobram and its residents. Arthur, we congratulate you, and on behalf of the residents of the Moira Shire Council, we would like to present you with a certificate of acknowledgement to again reinforce the significant contribution you have made to this community. So congratulations to you again.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Arthur, we'll just get a photo this way.
Yeah, okay.
Susan in it. You stand there. Right. And I'll now invite Mr. Arthur German to make a few remarks in response.
Well, thank you, Graham. Thanks for the kind words and the recognition of the award. I suppose you all realise the OAM is a fairly drawn-out process of achieving one or being awarded. So one day I'm sitting at home there about 12 months ago and the phone rang, Admiralty House. Well, I think I'm up to date with my tax. And of course, I realised later on it doesn't mean anything to do with taxation. And the girl on the other end, who had a beautiful, sweet, feminine voice, said, "Mr. German, we'd like to know something about the OAM." Of course, my eyes lit up. What's going on here? I feel pretty important today. Do you know a fellow called Peter Edgar? Yeah, I certainly do. Well, I was a nominee or a referee for the awarding. He was awarded an OAM as well, but my dreams were going to be, not realised. And about 6 months later, the same firm called, and we want to talk about an OAM, but I said, I've already talked to you about that before. Anyway, of course, they said, you've just been nominated. Okay. So as soon as I got off the phone, I rang every person I knew, who's scamming me? Well, then I rang back the government house a few times. No one's scamming you. Anyway, eventually, as you know now, I was actually awarded which I was quite happy to get. Gave me a bit of credibility after all those years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Arthur, and congratulations again. Arthur did make mention of the second recent recipient of an OAM, and that was Mr. Peter Edgar. And I'll just read a brief citation that supported Mr. Edgar's awarding of the OAM. Peter Edgar OAM has been honoured for his outstanding and enduring commitment to the Cobram community. A lifetime resident, Mr. Edgar has contributed across a wide range of local initiatives, demonstrating leadership, generosity, and a strong dedication to community service. His involvement in business and community activities has had a lasting and positive impact, earning him recognition as a respected and valued member of the Cobram community. Again, we extend on behalf of the Moira Shire Council and the broader community our congratulations to Mr. Edgar. Unfortunately, he's not able to be with us tonight, and we will undertake to present his certificate of acknowledgement to him at an appropriate occasion in the future. Again, a very warm congratulations to Mr. Arthur German and Mr. Peter Edgar on being recognised under the Australian Honours System with recent OAM certificates. So congratulations to you both. We'll now move to administrator presentations. Council remains concerned to ensure that Nathalia residents who may be impacted by the proposal of Solstice Energy to discontinue the supply of compressed natural gas in mid-2026 are adequately and appropriately supported. Council has been advocating to both Solstice Energy and the state government to ensure residents are not adversely affected as part of the planned closure. As part of this, Administrator Susan Benediker and I were pleased to attend a recent community information forum conducted by Solstice Energy in Nathalia on the 4th of March. This session was an opportunity for those affected residents to meet face-to-face with representatives of Solstice, the state government, and some energy conversion suppliers. We do look forward to continuing to advocate for the Nathalia residents who are affected to ensure that they get a fair outcome as a result of the planned closure. Council CEO Matthew Morgan and I attended a regular meeting of the Murray Region Group of Councils hosted by Campaspe Shire on the 5th of March. This meeting was largely devoted to the development of the group's response to the current Basin Plan Review, which is being conducted by the Murray-Darling Basin Authority. The Basin Plan Review is an opportunity for the group of councils stretching from Moira to Mildura to influence the future management of the Murray-Darling Basin. A key emphasis of the group's submission is likely to be centred on the very negative impacts for local communities from open market water buybacks, and that a new approach is required to balance the economic, environmental and social impacts from the management of water within the basin. Following the devastating fire at Yarrawonga on the 9th of January, Council has continued to lead recovery efforts on behalf of the community. As part of this, a second meeting of the Fire Recovery Coordination Committee was held last week. This committee brings together all relevant agencies with an interest in the recovery phase to share experiences and to ensure collaboration across the various agencies. The committee also includes a community representative, Mr. Ed Cox, to bring a local community perspective to the recovery effort. Common themes that continue to arise include the challenges for residents in navigating insurance pathways and particularly boundary fencing replacement, and more particularly where this intersects with the Goulburn Murray water irrigation channels. The committee will be reviewing the ongoing arrangements for recovery, coordination and collaboration at its next meeting to be held in April. I had the great pleasure of representing Council at the Catamatite Township's 150th anniversary celebrations held at the Catamatite Recreation Reserve last Saturday. This was a wonderful community event that celebrated the first settlement of Catamatite in 1876, and now, of course, 150 years on, continues to be a prosperous and strong community. The event, which was sponsored and supported by Council, involved a street parade, photographic displays, kids' activities, the running of the inaugural 150-metre Catamatite gift and so much more. It was great to see such a large gathering of both current and former community members with an interest in Catamatite, and we extend our heartfelt appreciation and congratulations to the Coordinating Committee and the many, many volunteers for hosting such an important and uplifting community celebration. I also had the opportunity to represent Council at the concluding dinner of the Two Rivers Tractor Run, which was hosted at the Yarrawonga Showgrounds last Saturday, the 21st of March. The Two Rivers Tractor Run involves more than 40 vintage tractor enthusiasts who, on a biannual basis, undertake a 7-day trek on their tractors to raise awareness of men's health and to raise important funds. For the first time, the trek followed a route in northern Victoria, and with the rally concluding in Yarrawonga on Saturday. And again, I'd like to extend our sincerest appreciation to Des Quinn and a band of other local volunteers who undertook to plan and host the 2026 rally, which was a really significant undertaking in its own right. This was a great opportunity to showcase Northern Victoria and particularly the Moira Shire. The rally was an enormous success and raised substantial funds for motor neurone disease research. Earlier today, Administrator Susan Benedica and our CEO Matthew Morgan and I met with Ricky Lee Tyrrell, the member of the Legislative Council for Northern Victoria, to discuss our Shire Council's priorities ahead of the 2026 Victorian state election. Council has developed a suite of key advocacy priorities that reflect the needs and aspirations of our communities, and we are taking every opportunity to ensure they are heard by all the major political parties ahead of the state election. These priorities include the long-awaited replacement of the Yarrawonga-Moala Bridge, completing flood protection works for Numurkah, safer roads across our Shire, a new pavilion at Scott Reserve in Cobram, and improved education facilities in Yarrawonga, and importantly, increased police resourcing to help address the alarming rise in family and gender-based violence across our region. This was a very productive meeting, and we look forward to continuing to advocate strongly on behalf of the community to secure investment for the Moira Shire, from all the major political parties in the coming weeks. Finally, a considerable amount of time and effort is underway by Council's officers and the panel to prepare Council's draft budget for the next financial year commencing 1 July. It's a significant undertaking to carefully consider the allocation of Council's funds to both services and programs for the program, as well as a full range of capital works projects. And this needs to be balanced against a backdrop of restricting government grants and increasing cost of living pressures for our communities. And we look forward to providing to the community, providing feedback on our draft budget when it is released for comment in May in a few weeks' time. Administrator Benedica, would you like to present your update to tonight's meeting?
Thank you, Chair. It was a pleasure to attend the recent launch of the 2026 Fairly Leadership Program and to congratulate Lachlan Andrew, who is participating this year with the support of the Moira Shire Community Scholarship. The Fairly Leadership Program is one of Victoria's most respected regional leadership initiatives, bringing together emerging leaders from across the Goulburn-Murray region to develop their skills, broaden their networks and deepen their understanding of the challenges and opportunities facing our communities. Lachlan is also a graduate of the Moira Shire Community Leadership Program. We're so pleased to see him continuing to develop his skills and broaden his networks for the purpose of supporting and leading in communities. We wish Lachlan all the best and look forward to seeing the contribution he will make to our region. Moira Shire was proud to join communities across the country in celebrating International Women's Day this month, with events held in both Cobram and Yarrawonga. In Cobram, Moira Shire Council hosted an event at the Cobram Community Cinema to celebrate the women of the Moira Shire. Community members were requested to nominate women who were then featured in a video which honoured these incredible women, women who lead, support, uplift and quietly but powerfully shape the places we live. Some of the women we celebrate work tirelessly behind the scenes and others lead from the front. It was an exceptional video. We've shared it on the Moira Shire Council social media platforms and we encourage you to view it. At that event, we also watched the document Brazen Hussies, which took us back to the women's liberation movement in Australia between 1965 and 75. There was many a head nodding as we recalled similar shared experience and acknowledged that the leadership of those times has helped shape our current future and reality as women and girls. I also had the privilege of attending the CWA International Women's Day annual Yarrawonga breakfast, where we were most warmly greeted and heard from guest speaker, local businesswoman Sue Costello, who is also Yarrawonga news agent and member of the board of Yarrawonga Mulwala Business and Tourism. These occasions were a wonderful opportunity to recognise and honour the extraordinary contributions of women in our community, whether in business, community service, agriculture or public life. The strong attendance at both events is a testament to the vibrant and engaged community spirit that makes Moira such a special place to live and work. And I thank all those involved in organising these celebrations. Council recently held 2 community drop-in sessions at Bundalong as part of the ongoing Bundalong Structure Plan process. And I was very pleased to see the level of community attendance at the level of community engagement at the session I attended. Using information from the initial conversations held last year, a draft structure plan was developed. The drop-in session was seeking feedback from the community. And we asked, this is what we heard, this is what we have done with it, have we got it right? Bundalong is a growing part of our shire and it's important that the future planning of this area reflects the needs and aspirations of the people who live and recreate there. I thank all residents who took the time to attend and share their thoughts, and Council looks forward to continuing this important conversation with the Bundalong community. This morning, along with the Mayor and General Manager of Federation Council, Chair Administrator Emerson and CEO Matthew Morgan, we met the 2 cross-border commissioners for New South Wales and Victoria. We canvassed several issues and including two important ones for us, the Yarrawonga-Mulwala Bridge and its next steps, and the potential impact of fuel prices and government policies on border communities. It was pleasing to hear that about 80% of the work of the cross-border commissioners can be resolved by changing practices on the ground, with meetings between agencies and those affected by border impacts, as well as managing issues which require a change in policies or programs. The harder 20% of their work requires longer-term work and legislative harmonisation and change. We will continue to work with Federation Council and government agencies in New South Wales and Victoria to actively pursue funding for the detailed design and business planning for the Yarrawonga-Mulwala Bridge. It's important we complete this next step collaboratively so we can fully define the cost and the priority of the bridge. We also want it to position the bridge investment highly against the 28 other bridges across the Murray River. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Administrator Benedika. With that, I'll now turn to item 8 on tonight's agenda, and that is officers' reports for determination. The first of those items tonight is item 8.1, Tungamar Courthouse revocation of Committee of Management appointment. And I'd ask the Acting Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Troy Metzner, to present this report.
Thank you, Chair, Administrator Emerson, and through you. This report represents the outcomes of community engagement held in August 2025 regarding the Tungamar Courthouse and seeks Council's approval to begin the formal revocation of its Committee of Management appointment for the property. The courthouse on Argus Street has been vacant since 2016, and Council has long sought to hand back responsibility for the site. Following the completion of required waterproofing works and contamination assessment, community engagement ran for 32 days from the 8th of August 2025, the final step required by DECA before a revocation request can be considered. If Council resolves to proceed, officers will confirm the next steps with DECA under the Crown Land Reserves Act 1989. The officer recommendation is as presented. Thank you, Chair, Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Metzner. I'm happy to move that Council, number 1, note the summary of feedback received during the community consultation period regarding the proposal to request revocation of Council's Committee of Management appointment for the Tungamar Courthouse as detailed in this report. Secondly, formally request that the Minister for Environment revoke Moira Shire Council as the Committee of Management for the former Tungamar Courthouse property on Certificate of Title Volume 11807, Folio 629, located at Argus Street, Tungamar, in accordance with Section 14, subsection 1 of the Crown Land Reserves Act 1978. Third, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to submit the necessary documentation to the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action to complete the revocation process. And fourth, note that Council has formally advised the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action that the community has expressed a strong preference that this historic building's architectural form is protected and requests that this feedback be considered when determining the future of the site. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Yes, Chair, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Administrator Benedika. This matter is of utmost importance to the Tungamar community, and that has been evidenced in the feedback that we've received as a result of the community consultation process undertaken in the middle of 2025. As it sits at the moment, the Tungamar Courthouse plays a very significant historical and architectural place in the Tungamar community. It's a building that is significant because of the historical role it has played, but also because of its architectural form. It's very clear through the community consultation and the many conversations we've had with members of the Tungamar community that the Tungamar community does want to see this important building maintained in perpetuity for the future. The building has sat idle since 2016, and it is time now that certainty be provided that provides a mechanism to protect this building for the community's benefit for the long term. The best pathway to achieve that is for Council to step back as the Committee of Management and allow the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action to proceed down the pathway of potentially considering the sale of the building with conditions to ensure it is protected for the future. This resolution tonight hopefully provides a degree of certainty about the future and provides a level of assurance to the Tungamar community that we are doing everything we can to protect this building for its historical significance and its architectural form for the benefit of the community for the long term. So I'm really pleased that we now have this matter before us. I'm really pleased that members of the community took the opportunity to provide their feedback, and it's very clear to us that the community wants to see this building protected and nurtured for the future, and we think this is the best pathway to achieve that on behalf of the community. Do you wish to speak as seconder to the motion?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to also point out that when I was considering this particular report, that we were approached by members of the Tungamar community to reduce this period of being in limbo. They really wanted to know that something was going to happen. We responded to that by running that extensive consultation and listening to the community as we went through. I note that the officer recommendation and the motion that's just been put really takes into account the architectural form and the importance of that architectural form to the community of Tungamar. So I'm very happy to second the motion.
Thank you, Administrator Benedika. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.2 on tonight's agenda is the draft legislative compliance policy, and I would invite our Director of Corporate Performance, Mr. Peter Cannizzaro, to present this report.
Thank you, Chair, Administrator, and through you, Chair. I'm here to present the report titled Draft Legislative Compliance Policy. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's consideration and adoption of the Legislative Compliance Policy as included in Attachment 1. By way of background, the policy directly responds to a recommendation from an internal audit conducted in June 2025, fulfilling the management commitment to complete the policy by March 2026 and addressing identified compliance risks. The policy establishes systematic compliance monitoring, defined responsibilities across all organisational levels, regular reporting timeframes and mechanisms, and clear processes for delegation and authorisation management. You will also note that at Appendix 1 of this policy, it identifies approximately 150 pieces of state and Commonwealth legislation that are relevant to Council. The draft policy was also presented at the Audit and Risk Committee on the 12th of February 2026, and all committee feedback has been incorporated prior to presentation of this policy tonight. Chair, the recommendation is before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cannizzaro. Is there a motion for this item tonight?
Yes, Chair, I'd like to move that Council adopt the legislative compliance policy as included in Attachment 1.
And I'm happy to second that motion. Do you wish to speak as the mover of the motion?
So I'd like to follow Mr. Canizzaro's comments. This was picked up in an internal audit in June 2025, and the audit found that without this policy, there was the potential for inconsistencies in how our compliance obligations were managed. Mr. Cannizzaro has already pointed out that there are around 150 pieces of external legislation that we need to be aware of and responsive to, and that we needed a framework internally to be able to make sure that we were compliant and had no problems with that compliance. I also, as a member of the Audit and Risk Committee, was very pleased to see that the wisdom of our independent members has been taken into account in shaping this. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Benedika. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.3 is the Yarrawonga Holiday Park public access to boat ramp. Again, I'd invite our Acting Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Troy Metzner, to introduce this report.
Thank you, Chair, Administrator Emerson, and through you. This report presents the results of the community engagement on the proposal to restrict public access to the boat ramp at Yarrawonga Holiday Park. The engagement followed the opening of the new Collins Road boat ramp, ongoing security concerns at the holiday park, and a request from the lessee to limit public access. Over 21 days in August 2025, the community was invited to share their views through a poll and a survey. With 675 responses received in total, based on the feedback, officers are recommending that council look at ways to keep the boat ramp open to the public, with the matter to be considered as part of the holiday park's broader master planning process. The officer recommendation is as presented. Thank you, Chair Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Metzner. I'm happy to move that Council Number 1 note the feedback received during the community engagement period for the proposed restriction of public access to the boat ramp within the leased premises of the Yarrawonga Holiday Park. Secondly, note that the community engagement response was significantly in favour of supporting continued public access to the boat ramp at the Yarrawonga Holiday Park. And third, continue to engage with the Yarrawonga Holiday Park Incorporated to encourage them to consider various options for ongoing public access to the boat ramp, which may be incorporated into their proposed master plan and for council's further consideration. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Administrator Benedika. As Mr. Metzner has articulated, Council has been approached by the lessee of the Yarrawonga Holiday Park to consider limiting public access to the boat ramp that sits within the leased area of the holiday park. To enable us to be informed and to consider this matter more fully, we did undertake a consultative process which resulted in more than 670 submissions in various forms in response to this proposal. By anyone's measure, this is a large number of submissions and a large interest in this issue. It is important, I think, that we recognise that the public boat ramp within the holiday park area has been a public facility for a long period of time. It's also important to understand that the future development of the Yarrawonga Holiday Park Committee is a really important investment in an asset for Yarrawonga. The Yarrawonga Holiday Park Committee have a very clear vision to substantially redevelop and invest heavily in improving the holiday park over future years. And it is incumbent, I think, on us to consider their concerns regarding public access to the boat ramp as part of those considerations. Having said that, and on balance, given the level of significant interest that's been expressed through the public consultation process, I think it is incumbent on us to work closely with the Holiday Park Committee to look at a full range of potential options that might enable public access if that in fact is possible with the redevelopment of the holiday park. So this is the resolution, the motion I have moved tonight is an opportunity to work further with the Holiday Park Committee to look at a broad range of options that may potentially see future public access retained at the boat ramp within the park. That will enable council, when we look at the redevelopment master plan and the options for public access, potential public access to the boat ramp, to make a better informed decision about what is possible and perhaps what is not possible. And so what I'm calling for in this resolution here, this motion here tonight, is to give us some time to think about what those options might be, to test their feasibility in conjunction with a significant redevelopment of the holiday park. And we look forward to these future considerations. Do you wish to speak as seconder to the motion?
I think that the evidence of over 670 responses from the community tells us quite clearly that this is a facility that people would like to still maintain access to. That has and will impact on the master planning for the whole of the site. It does need strong consideration, but it needs a lot of good thought put to what are the alternatives, What else might this look like? How do you have the development that we'd love to see at the caravan park, as well as public access to this boat ramp? I am very mindful that discussions are underway, making sure that this is a collaborative effort to try and find a solution. So this motion gives us the actual means to go ahead with those consultations.
Thank you, Administrator Benedicta. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.4 on tonight's agenda is Glenmire Park Amended Development Plan, and I would invite the Director of Sustainable Development, Mr. Brian Sword, to present this report.
Thank you, Chair Administrator Emerson. The purpose of this report is to enable Council to determine a request to amend the Glenmire Park Development Plan. The current development plan was approved by Council in 2020, amending the original development plan, which was approved in 2007. The development plan excludes the developed Kialla Business Park and lots along Cales Road and provides for residential development across the land bounded by the Murray Valley Highway, Woods Road, Cales Road and Botts Road, including a residential village accessed off Woods Road. The proposed amendment before you tonight has been lodged by Miller Merrigan on behalf of the Glenmire Park Estate developer. The amendment seeks to introduce a camping and caravan park use along the Murray Valley Highway frontage and amend the service lane and access arrangements to the Murray Valley Highway to address delivery and operational constraints. The amendments are confined to those identified on the development plan and do not affect the remainder of the Glenmire estate. We undertook consultation with relevant authorities and adjoining property owner. Some of the matters raised during the consultation were access arrangements from the highway, retention of vegetation, provision of public open space, and sewer and stormwater capacity. In response to these matters, the development plan has undergone a number of redesigns. The revised version 8 development plan before you tonight addresses Council and Transport for Victoria's concerns, particularly in relation to minimising vegetation loss within the Murray Valley Highway Road Reserve, rationalising vehicle access arrangements, and clarifying infrastructure provision and staging. There are no outstanding objections from external referral authorities to version 8 of the development plan before you tonight. The key considerations for Council in determining the amendments are the appropriateness of introducing a camping and caravan park use in the proposed location, access arrangements along the Murray Valley Highway, and the retention of vegetation. In concluding, the amended development plan, version 8, has addressed the issues raised through consultation and is consistent with the relevant provisions of the Moira planning scheme. It is recommended that Council endorse the amendment to Glenmire Park Development Plan, version 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sword. Is there a mover for this item tonight?
Yes, Chair. I'd like to move that Council, having considered the proposed amendments to the Glenmire Park Development Plan against the relative policies and provisions of the Moira Shire Planning Scheme, resolve to 1. Include permit requirements on the development plan to the effect that any future permit application for the camping and caravan park must A. Demonstrate that sewerage infrastructure will be provided to the satisfaction of North East Water. B. Provide an active frontage to the Murray Valley Highway and any adjacent public areas to ensure development within the camping and caravan park integrates with the public surrounding spaces to the satisfaction of the responsible authority. C. Ensure an appropriate urban design outcome and that sites and development within the camping and caravan park integrate with the surrounding public spaces. Number 2, endorse the Glenmire Park Development Plan version 8 as amended, as then having been prepared to the satisfaction of the responsible authority pursuant to clause 43.04 of the Moira Planning Scheme.
And I'm happy to second that motion. Do you wish to speak as the mover of the motion?
in considering this proposed amendment to the development plan, I needed to quite understand what a development plan was as opposed to a planning permit. The development plan is the overarching tool, which is then to guide and coordinate the future use and development of land before a planning permit would be considered. Because this development plan already had in mind a particular use, we've been able to think about what would be those restrictions around that use or considerations, and having sufficient infrastructure, having the separation but also the integration with public spaces, that is the interface with the Murray Valley Highway and other public spaces, is particularly important. I'd also note that this is version 8. It has gone off to all of the relevant authorities, and there are now no longer any outstanding concerns from any external referral authorities. So they were all part of the consideration before I moved this.
Thank you, Administrator Benedicus. Second to the motion, I'd echo those sentiments. What we are considering tonight is a development plan and not a planning permit, and it is important to make that distinction. The current zoning and development plan for the subject site does allow for residential purposes, and tonight what we're being asked to consider through a potential amendment to the development plan is to whether a camping and caravan park use on this site would be a potential future appropriate use. This site is a really high-profile site. It is a gateway site on the Murray Valley Highway as the entrance into Yarrawonga, and it does need careful consideration to ensure that any future use of this site is appropriate. The conditions which are outlined at point 1 in tonight's motion, I think go a long way to articulating what we see as being important in any future consideration of a planning permit application to develop this site for a camping and caravan park. And I do go to particularly point B, which is around understanding that we do require an active frontage to the Murray Valley Highway, given the dominance and the prominence of this site as a gateway entry site. And I'm really pleased that we are calling that out in the development plan, which then does largely direct and influence future considerations of any planning permit application. It is also critical that a camping and caravan park use integrates well with the surrounding sites to ensure that we have complementary uses and interface areas are appropriately addressed. So I'm comfortable in supporting this tonight, understanding this is a development plan, and any actual development of the site for a camping and caravan park will be the subject of a future planning permit application, should that be the desire of the applicants. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.5 on tonight's agenda is the Cobram East Stormwater Drainage Strategy. And again, I'd invite our Acting Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Troy Metzner, to present this report.
Thank you, Chair, Administrator Emerson, and through you. The Cobram East Stormwater Drainage Strategy was placed on public exhibition following Council's endorsement of the draft at its August 2025 meeting, with consultation running from the 29th of September to the 5th of November 2025. 3 of the 7 catchment landowners responded, raising matters around boundaries, development timing and planning concerns, all of which have since been addressed by the council officers, with all 3 landowners now supportive of the strategy, having met the full 35-day statutory consultation requirement. Council is in a position tonight to formally adopt the strategy and move forward with detailed design of the basin and outfall to Scotts Creek. The officer recommendation is as presented. Thank you, Chair, Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Metzner. And I'm happy to move that Council Number 1 note the feedback received on the draft Cobram East Stormwater Drainage Strategy following community engagement conducted in accordance with Council's community engagement policy. Secondly, adopt the Cobram East Stormwater Drainage Strategy as included in Attachment 1, prepared in accordance with Section 198 of the Local Government Act 1989 and Section 156 of the Environment Protection Act 2017. And third, note that an implementation plan will be developed to guide the delivery of the strategy, including further consultation with relevant landowners and stakeholders. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
The development of a solution for managing stormwater drainage in the Cobram East area has been a long-standing matter that has really stood still as a result of an agreed solution. There's been a considerable, in fact, an enormous amount of work gone into understand what is the best possible solution to manage stormwater drainage in this future development precinct. It is worth noting that we have engaged very directly with the landowners involved, and we did receive submissions from a number of those on the draft strategy as part of our consultation process. By adopting the strategy, we will now provide certainty and a solution to enable these parcels of land to be developed in the future. Without this strategy, we run the risk of a fragmented and probably inappropriate solution for managing stormwater in the long term. The strategy we have before us tonight does provide an integrated whole of catchment strategy, and now for the first time provides certainty to enable those owners of land who may wish to want to develop it within this catchment area to get on and plan their developments with certainty. And I'm really pleased, and I want to congratulate our staff for the work they've done in developing the strategy. It's been a long process. It's been a very complex and detailed process, but I'm really pleased to finally see this solution before us here tonight. I do understand that an implementation plan is yet to be put in place, and that implementation plan will be the important next step, but we can't move forward unless we have an overall strategy for the solution, and that, if we adopt this tonight, is what we will be providing to those landowners. Administrator Benedika, would you like to speak as seconder to the motion?
Yes, I would. This particular strategy, drainage strategy, as was mentioned by the chair, has been very complex. A number of parties with their own ideas of what would be in the future, what they would like to develop and how they would like to develop, as well as the existing complexity of stormwater drainage in Cobram East. The amount of work that's gone into this has been extraordinary, and as the chair has said, that there still needs to be an implementation plan. But the clear first step was getting all parties on board to make sure this was going in the right direction. That period of consultation and the detailed responses and interaction with the land developers gives me some surety that we're going in the right direction.
With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.6 on the agenda tonight is the electoral structure review, and I would invite our Director of Corporate Performance, Mr. Peter Canizzaro, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's endorsement to formally request the Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Nick Stakos, to commission an electoral structural review for Moira Shire Council, in accordance with Section 16 of the Local Government Act 2020, ahead of the October 2028 general election. By way of background, Moira Shire Council operated as an unsubdivided municipality with 9 councillors, a structure that had been in place since 2007. Under this model, all councillors are elected by voters across the entire municipality, representing the whole shire rather than specific geographic localities. Moira Shire Council was dismissed by an Act of Parliament in March 2023 following the Commission of Inquiry appointed in October 2022, which is documented in this report. A panel of administrators was subsequently appointed to govern the Shire, with the next scheduled general election set for October 2028. The Commission specifically stated at Section 412 of the Inquiry Report that a further local representative review of Moira Shire is warranted in the near term to strengthen representation and accountability across the Shire. It is therefore timely to initiate this process now, particularly noting that the Victorian Electoral Commission typically requires up to 2 years advance notice to undertake a review. The recommendation is presented and before you and aligns with the Commission of Inquiry's recommendation, Council's obligations under Local Government Act 2020 and the Local Government Moira Shire Council Act of 2023, and supports Council's commitment to good governance and effective democratic representation for the Moira Shire community. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cannizzaro. Is there a motion for this item tonight?
Yes, I'd like to move that Council, number 1, in accordance with Section 16 of the Local Government Act 2020, requests the Minister for Local Government to commission an electoral structure review for the Moira Shire Council ahead of the October 2028 general election, and authorise the Chief Executive Officer to prepare and submit the formal request to the Minister outlining the rationale for the review. And number 2, allocates appropriate budget provision for the electoral structure review in the financial year in which the review will be undertaken.
And I'm happy to second that motion. Do you wish to speak as the mover of the motion?
Yes, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Cannizzaro, there was, after the Commission of Inquiry, it specifically stated that we needed to conduct a review of this nature. It also says that really, the underpinning principle is that any electoral arrangements must ensure fair and effective representation for all residents, regardless of their location within the municipality. The electoral review will need to be undertaken a little at arm's length, but we would like to also be involved in encouraging very strong community engagement with this process. This is really about how the representation will occur from now to the future. I'd also like to make sure that the second part of the motion is really understood. We need to establish, the legislation says that Council needs to pay for and bear full responsibility for the costs associated with this review process. Because we now need to go to the Minister now needs to determine when and where they can put the review into place. We don't know whether it's going to be in this financial year or next financial year. So we're a little bit subject to that decision making in order to work that through. This is the final one of the 9 recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry, and I'll be very pleased to see it underway and then see it completed fairly and in the best interests of the people of Moira Shire.
Thank you, Administrator Benedica. I don't wish to speak as the seconder of the motion. I think everything's been said. So I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 8.7 is the Yarrawonga Library Events and Performance Precinct. And again, if I can invite our Acting Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Troy Metzner, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair. The Yarrawonga Library Events and Performance Precinct has been a long-standing priority for Council, supported by over $4.75 million in external funding and a revised budget of $11,226,000 endorsed in March 2024. Through disciplined value management, the project team has delivered savings of $888,828, a genuine achievement on the project of this scale. To address the remaining technical refinements identified through the same careful oversight process, an additional $750,000 is required to deliver stage 1 to the high quality, compliant and fully functional standard this community deserves. Council's focus throughout has been on getting this right, and this investment ensures the Yarrawonga community has a facility that will serve as a centrepiece of community life for decades to come. The officer recommendation is as presented. Thank you, Chair, Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Metzner. I'm happy to move that Council invest an additional $750,000 ex-GST in the Yarrawonga Library Events and Performance Precinct project, bringing the total budget to $11.976 million to deliver a high-quality community facility that meets contemporary standards and maximises social amenity into the future. Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Administrator Benedika. The delivery of the Yarrawonga Library Events and Performance project is a long-standing and high-profile project in the Yarrawonga community. It's been a project that's been planned for many, many years and is much awaited. Through the progress of this project, it has been very carefully project managed, and I'm really pleased to see the level of rigour that's been applied in delivering this project, and we are very close to delivery. And in that context, it is important that we now reconcile the budget that is required to deliver this as a high quality project. I do note that more than $800,000 in savings have been identified by the team throughout, and this last level of investment is the last piece of the jigsaw to enable this new modern contemporary library and community events precinct to be delivered for the Yarrawonga community. And we really look forward to this project being finally completed and available for the community to enjoy later this year. Do you wish to speak as seconder of the motion?
I think that anyone who has even driven past the facility can see how extraordinary it is. We've had the privilege many, many times of walking through it and showing guests through understanding how it will function and what we will do. It will be an extraordinary home for the Goulburn Valley Library Yarrawonga branch. It will be an extraordinary place for community connection, and there's that whole sense of how it will function as a hub and really bring people together. I'm very pleased that we're getting so close, and quite pleased that we're able to finalise this investment and make our way forward.
Thank you, Administrator Benedika. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, the motion is carried. Item 8.8 is the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee minutes of its meeting of the 11th of March 2026. Mr. CEO, I think you've declared a conflict of interest in this matter.
Thank you, Chair, and I will leave the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. We'll just wait for the CEO to leave the chamber. I'll now invite our Director of Corporate Performance, Mr. Peter Canizzaro, to present this item.
Thank you, Chair Administrator, and through you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to present the minutes of the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee meeting, which was held on the 11th of March 2026, which is included as attachment 1 to this report. For noting by Council and to seek Council's endorsement of the committee's recommendations. By way of background, the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee was established in accordance with Section 45, subsection 2 of the Local Government Act 2020. The committee is responsible for assisting Council in CEO performance management matters, including quarterly and annual monitoring and review of the Chief Executive Officer's performance against key performance indicators. The annual CEO performance review for 2025 has been conducted in accordance with the CEO's contract of employment and Council's relevant internal policy. Chair, the recommendation is presented as in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Canizzaro. Is there a motion for this item tonight?
Yes, Chair. I'd move that Council, number 1, receive and note the minutes of the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee meeting held on 11th of March 2026, as included in confidential attachment 1. 2, note that the annual CEO performance review for 2025 has been conducted in accordance with the Chief Executive Officer's contract of employment and relevant internal policy. Number 3, note that the performance of the Chief Executive Officer has been assessed by the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee as being of a high level and above expectations. And number 4, endorse that an increase of 3%, equivalent to the rate cap for 2025-26, be applied to the Chief Executive Officer's total remuneration package, effective 22nd of January 2026.
And I'm very happy to second that motion. Do you wish to speak as the mover of the motion?
Both the Chair Administrator and I and the external independent chair form the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee. The review was conducted externally by an independent. It was using a 360-degree methodology, which means that people outside the organisation, within the organisation, direct reports and non-direct reports, as well as the panel of administrators, were asked a series of questions, and that's how a conclusion was come to about the assessment of the performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Administrator Benedicta. Second to the motion, I would concur with your comments that the undertaking of the CEO's annual performance review has been a very rigorous process, very thorough, and by every measure, I think it's worth reinforcing that the CEO's performance in the last 12 months has been rated at a very high level and beyond expectations. And we do extend our congratulations to the CEO for his performance over the last 12 months and look forward to that work continuing in the future. So with that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, the motion is carried. Can we please invite the CEO back into the meeting? So if we can now move to item 8.9 on the agenda, and that is the Youth Council appointment of members. And I would invite the Director of Community, Mr. Scott Williams, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. This report seeks the endorsement of 3 new members to the Moira Shire Youth Council, following a round of recruitment which came after the resignation of 3 members at the conclusion of the committee's first term. Re-established in January 2025, the Youth Council plays an important role in representing the voices and interests of young people across the community, providing a platform for meaningful youth participation in local government. Since its inception, the Youth Council has proven to be a great success, with members demonstrating a genuine commitment to their community and embracing every opportunity to contribute, advocate and grow. This report recommends the appointment of Tony McLennan, Ruby White-Carter and Annabelle Matthews as Youth Council members, ensuring the committee continues to thrive with a full complement of young representatives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Is there a motion for this item?
Yes, Chair. I'd like to move that Council appoint Tony McLennan, Ruby White-Carter and Annabelle Matthews to the Youth Council Committee in accordance with the committee terms of reference.
And I'm very happy to second that motion. Do you wish to speak as the mover of the motion?
Yes, I would like to speak. The Moira Shire Council is an advisory group to the Moira Shire Council, and they represent the voice and interests of young people in our community. We've had the pleasure many times of meeting with the Youth Council. We bring to them items of interest from Council, we request feedback, and we use them as a formal advisory committee mechanism. There are many things that come to us in Council where we really need to have the distinctive voice of young people. The example from tonight is that when we look at the electoral review, we will be engaging with the young people on the Moira Youth Council and then potentially asking them ways to engage with other young people. That's been really quite a method that we've used in the past and we look forward to continuing to use in the future. It was very pleasing to see the quality of the nominations. Congratulations to those people who've put their hands up.
Thank you, Administrator Benedicta. As second to the motion, can I also congratulate Tony, Ruby and Annabelle on firstly putting yourself forward to be considered for Youth Council, and assuming this motion gets carried tonight upon your appointment as well, and we look forward to working with you. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 9 on tonight's agenda is Officer Reports for Information. Item 9.1 is the Audit and Risk Committee meeting minutes of its meeting held on the 12th of February 2026. And I would invite the Director of Corporate Performance, Mr. Peter Cannizzaro, to present this item.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair. The purpose of this report is for Council to receive and note the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on 12th of February 2026, which is included as Attachment 1. By way of background, the Audit and Risk Committee met on the 12th of February and considered a broad range of governance, risk, financial and operational matters relevant to Council. The committee's charter and the Local Government Act 2020 provides a legislative framework under which the committee operates, including how the minutes are presented to council. In February, the committee considered 12 items spanning from financial, audit, risk, governance and operational matters. These included the biannual Audit and Risk Committee report, the December 2025 quarterly budget review, and the Emergency Management Internal Audit Report. The committee reviewed and provided feedback on several key documents currently in development, also including the draft budget management framework, the draft procurement guideline, the draft purchase card policy, the draft legislative compliance policy, which was presented tonight to council, and the project management framework 2026. The committee also reviewed the operational risk register, internal audit actions register, OHS improvement plan, policy registers, and the quarterly incident claims and litigation report, reflecting the committee's strong oversight role across council's risk and compliance environment. The recommendations are before you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Canizzaro. I'm happy to move that council receive and note the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on 12 February 2026 and then as included at attachment 1. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Yes, Chair, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Administrator Benedica. The Audit and Risk Committee continues to play a really critical role in oversighting governance and risk on behalf of the council. It's a really important component of our overall governance arrangements, and I'm delighted to say that we now have a full complement of 5 independent members on our Audit and Risk Committee Risk Committee, and they are operating at a very high level to provide us with levels of assurance that we need across all matters related to audit and risk. And we can see from the report that's presented to us tonight, the agenda for their 12th of February meeting was a very extensive one and covered a very broad remit. And again, we thank the Audit and Risk Committee for their ongoing assurance work on behalf of the council. Do you wish to speak as seconder of the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 9.2 is the Council Plan 25-29 half-yearly performance report. Again, Mr. Peter Canizzaro, would you like to introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to present to council for noting the Council Plan 2025 to 2029 half-year report, covering the period 1 July through to 31 December 2025, which outlines progress on major initiatives and infrastructure commitments. This report also fulfills council statutory requirement to monitor and report on progress against the council plan in accordance with the governance and management checklist under the Local Government Planning and Reporting Regulations of 2020. By way of background, the Council Plan 2025 to 2029 was adopted by Council and includes 44 major initiatives to be delivered over a 4-year period across 5 strategic pillars. Additionally, the Council Plan includes 14 major infrastructure commitments across 7 major projects to enhance community facilities and services. Of the 31 of the major initiatives scheduled for 25-26, more than 90% are currently in progress, reflecting strong organisational performance across the 5 strategic pillars. With respect to the council report tonight, Chair, if endorsed tonight, the half-year report will also be published on council's website to inform the community of the progress against the council plan in line with council's public transparency policy and community engagement policy. Council officers will also continue to monitor progress against across all of the initiatives and infrastructure commitments, with a further update to be provided in the annual report. Chair, the recommendation is before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Canizzaro. Is there a mover for this item tonight?
I'd like to move that the council note the Council Plan 2025 to 2029 half-year report from the 1st of July to 31st of December 2025 as included in attachment 1 be adopted.
And I'm happy to second that motion. Do you wish to speak as mover?
Yes, I do. need to just explain that that 4-year plan is one of the first commitments that we make as council in coming in, looking at the 4-year period, working out what needs to be done to meet the strategic vision, the longer term community vision for the whole of Moira Shire. To see progress, where more than 90% of our major initiatives are already in progress and 83% of the major infrastructure commitments are in progress, is really very, very heartening, remembering that this is up to the end of December and we're now 1 quarter on from there. The way in which we are held accountable is to do a report and report against that report so that community members can see exactly what we're doing. And I'm really looking forward to having this particular report going on into the public domain.
And as seconder of the motion, I'll just offer my congratulations as well. We have 44 initiatives we're reporting against, and to see the substantial progress that's been made in the first half year of this financial year is great commendation to you, Mr. CEO, and the broader staff for their activities and initiatives to deliver on those 44 priorities to date. And we look forward to continuing to implement those as we move towards the 30th of June. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, the motion is carried. Item 9.3 on tonight's agenda is the appointment and authorisation of council officers under the Planning and Environment Act of 1987. Mr. Peter Canizzaro, would you like to introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's approval of an updated instrument of appointment and authorisation under the Planning and Environment Act 1987, as shown in Attachment 1, to reflect recent staff changes. The appointments are necessary to ensure the specific council officers are appropriately authorised to undertake statutory functions, including inspections and enforcement under the Planning and Environment Act of 1987. By way of background, the Planning and Environment Act 1987 requires council officers carrying out inspection and enforcement functions be appointed and authorised directly by council. There is no provision for this to be subdelegated to the Chief Executive Officer. The updated instrument includes the appointment of 2 new council officers, Joshua Fowler and Solobomi Oniki, who require authorisation to perform their statutory function under the Act. The names of the 2 other existing officers have also been updated in the instrument to reflect current records. Upon the new instrument coming into force, the previous instrument of appointment and authorisations made on the 26th of November 2025 will be formally revoked, ensuring only the current instrument remains in effect. Chair, the recommendation is before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Canizzaro, and I'm happy to move that Council, in the exercise of the powers conferred by Section 147, subsection 4 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, resolve that, number 1, the members of council staff referred to in the instrument of appointment and authorisation as shown in Attachment 1 be appointed and authorised as set out in the instrument, and 2, the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to affix the instrument with the common seal of the Council. And 3rd, the instrument comes into force immediately following the seal being affixed to the instrument and remains in force until Council determines to vary or revoke it. And 4th, upon the instrument coming into force, the instrument of appointment and authorisation to members of council staff as made by council on 26 November 2025 is hereby revoked. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
This matter is procedural, but is very important. It's very important that we have our authorisations and delegations up to date, and this matter is relatively self-explanatory and I don't think requires too much further explanation beyond that. Do you wish to speak as seconder of the motion? With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour, the motion is carried. Item 10 on tonight's agenda, notices of motion. Mr. CEO, are there any notices of motion to be considered tonight?
Thank you, Chair. There are no matters for items 10, 11, 12 or 13 on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. That takes us to item 14 on tonight's public question time. We do have one question tonight that's been submitted from Mr. John Tyrrell, and I know John is with us. John, would you like to make your way forward to the microphone? John, would you like us to read your question and then you speak to it? Yes. So John's question tonight, do you want to read it or do you want me to? John's question is the Tungamah Kickstart Tungamah Splash Park funding. We have $90,000 for the project and would like the council to take this plan seriously and get funding for this project in 2026-2027. We want a small splash park in the Boyd Street Park. John, would you like to speak to your question?
Yes, we've been working for about 5 years to this for this project. Everybody in Tungamah wants this. We talk to everybody in the town. You look at Yarrawonga, it's got a swimming pool, a lake, $1 million splash park. Cobram's got a swimming pool. Namurka's got a swimming pool. Nathalia's got a swimming pool. We've got none. It was bulldozed 7 years ago by the Education Department with no help from the council. So we got left with nothing. But we want this project to go ahead. We're up to 90,000. By the next 6 months, we'll have 100,000. We are working so hard to get money for this project. We want it in Tungamah.
Good, thank you, John. I'll ask the CEO to provide a response to your question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, John. And just again, acknowledge the efforts of the community out there and the commitment to fundraising. I think last time we spoke, it's already increased by about 5,000 since the last time we spoke about that. Just to clarify that at this point, Council doesn't have a recreation or aquatic strategy that supports the development of further splash park facilities anywhere in the district, noting that both the aquatic and the recreation strategies will be reviewed within the next 12 months. This remains a community-led initiative, and as it's a community-led initiative, it doesn't automatically make its way into our forward planning processes. The financial plan does provide for principles where council can contribute up to 25% of the total project cost for projects like this, but we do need to understand the full project scope, costs, whole of life costs and the ongoing maintenance before council can consider those decisions. A business case and feasibility assessment, including an assessment of the proposed location and the suitability of that location, would need to be completed. We have broadened the community grants program and the guidelines for the community grants program specifically to support community-led projects that have been identified in the community plans, and that was endorsed by council in February this year, and the community grants program is open. So in terms of progressing this project, there's 3 pathways that we can suggest. The first is to submit the project through the upcoming budget consultation process. So once the draft budget is endorsed by council, which is anticipated at the end of April at this point, the consultation process will be open through May. The second pathway would be to apply for a community grant to actually do the further work to finalise the concept plan, the costings and the full scope for the project. So that can be then submitted to council, or alternatively a combination of both, apply for the community grant and also submit the project through council's budget process. If council does support the project, and it will ultimately be a decision for council on supporting that, it'll be in full visibility of the whole of life costs in terms of maintaining that facility ongoing. But I don't want that to take away from the efforts of the community. It is just the difference between what is already in our strategies as opposed to what is a community-led project and how we get that pathway together.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. CEO. And thank you, John, for your question tonight, but more importantly, for your enthusiasm and passion for this project. You'll be back. Thank you. Thank you, John. And thank you, Mr. CEO, for that response. That does take us to item 15 tonight, and that is the close of tonight's meeting. There being no further business on tonight's agenda. Can I again thank the members of the gallery that have joined us here tonight as observers of our scheduled council meeting. Can I again acknowledge the members of the Moira Youth Council who have also been observers for our proceedings here tonight. To members of the community who have joined us online, thank you again for joining us. With there being no further business, I'll now declare tonight's meeting closed. Thank you.